What's good, gang? So it's been a minute since the last Ask Fredo, and honestly, a minute since the last long form video, aside from like the compilation. And to be truthful with y'all, that was not a coincidence. I just wasn't in the headspace to do it. I had a lot going on, and I couldn't bring myself to be like motivated to record a video, even though I had ideas. But it just wasn't. I wasn't in the mood for it. And even this, it took me a minute to finally get the right mental space to go ahead and record it. But I'm doing better now. But we're gonna talk about it. As usual, you got one thing to expect out of me. I'm gonna just be real with y'all, man. So, this might not be a funny video at all. Might be full of laughs. We're gonna see. Y'all know your boy blind, so I had to put the glasses on for this video so I can read the comments. It's funny because this is the phone that I actually started doing my content with, man. It's cracked and busted, but it's still useful. All right, so the first question we got is from Talk Like a Hick 2U877. Well, that's a lot going on, but what's good with you? He said, have you been able to really see how much joy you really bring people here? I have been able to see how much I help y'all, and believe it or not, I say it and it sounds cliche, but the messages, the comments that y'all leave, they really keep me motivated, man. Like, not that I really like motivation these days, but it definitely keeps me, on top of my toes and, wanting to keep putting out content, because hopefully I can make somebody else's day, and that means the world to me. So thank you. The next question is from J Carter 2404. That's 2404 if you're proper. He says, how are you doing now? Seriously, I came across your channel randomly. I found you hilarious in the realest way. I've listened to you tell bits of your story of feeling like not existing anymore, losing people dear to you, and the struggles to be better. I feel all of it. So really, how are you doing these days? I appreciate that question. It's not one I get asked very often, but I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. So recently, I had a friend commit suicide. And then my granddad died. He was brain dead, but then he died, and had the funeral and whatnot. And it death always puts me in a weird space, because it's not like I don't get too much like phased by death anymore. It's kind of like I hear somebody dies, I'm like, oh man, that's sad, that's tough, and then I keep it pushing. But at the same time, it puts me in a mental space that like brings back my awareness of the fact that we could leave at any time, or anybody could leave at any time. So I feel like you got to maximize the time that you do have here, because it could be short, and just the mindset that they put me in led me to accepting some harsh realities that I had already known. I've always had the same problem, really. My whole life I've been alone, right? And I've always known that, but I never quite accepted it, because even the people that I hold closest to me, I've always known they've never gave me the time and effort and energy that I put into them back. So it's like when I want to see them, I'm gonna go out my way to make sure I see them, no matter how much I got going on. Because I mean, mind you, if you heard some of my story, there was times where like I didn't have food. I didn't even have a car at one point in time. And then when I did have a car, there was a point in time where I lived in my car. And I was broke, man. I mean, I was going through it, bro. And I went through all of this stuff on my own. I'm miles away from home, I guess, away from everybody that I've known. And I'm handling it, I'm thugging it out, and I'm finding my way. And then despite all the stuff that I had going on with friends getting killed and all of this, I made time and effort to make sure I was still present the way that I could be for the people that I've always been there for, just making those 12-hour long trips back to the SIP to see my family on the holidays, even though that's all I could do at the time was just show up, hopefully. And knowing that, I moved away from home in 2017. In my time living outside of my home state, I had never had a visitor until like a year ago, on my birthday. My little sister drove to see me on my birthday. First visitor I ever had in my life. And just that moment, it was so important to me, because I never seen it any kind of way, because I was like, I wanted to see these people, right? They mean something to me. And so I was putting this effort into things, showing up when I can, helping when I can. But I had to realize like that wasn't something that I was getting back from anybody, really. So, when I had like my highest moments in life, when I went to the national championship, when I looked in the audience, I didn't see anybody, there for me. It was just me, my coach, and my teammates that came. I know a lot of my highs in life were those things that like I felt like should have been celebrated. They didn't get celebrated. It was just me, and I had to kind of like pat myself on the back, and that really just pushed me through life, though. That knowing that it was kind of just me, doing my thing, and then hopefully at some point people jumped on board. And it's like I've had that, behind the scenes support. Don't get me wrong, like, keep doing what you're doing. I see you and all of that, but it's like the the energy. If you see, you have to know me personally to see how hard I push with people, man, and how the lengths that I'll go for a person is not normal. You know, I've went off the deep end trying to save people plenty of times and lost myself, but that's who I am as a person. And so when I'm so accustomed to always giving myself the short end of the stick and making sure that I'm everything that I wish I had, you know, coming up, because I felt like, you know, if I could have saved myself the way I've saved all these other people, maybe I wouldn't be so fucked up now. But I realized that the only reason I was able to help all these people is because I was fucked up. So, you know, I guess it kind of worked out the way it was supposed to. But, you know, if I sit still too long, you know, a lot of times I'm home alone, and I think about that kind of stuff, man. I think about like how I'll call up somebody that, you know, I value, and I'm always like super hyped to talk to them. You know, my girlfriend always says, like, you sound so happy when you talk to them. But I realize, like, if I didn't do that, you know, if I didn't reach out, if I wasn't always like trying to make sure these interactions wouldn't happen as often as they do, and they, you know, to be honest, rarely happen now. And so it kind of got like a bitter taste in my mouth, but didn't make me bitter. But at the same time, I started detaching from a lot of people, like family, friends, everything. Like, I just don't associate with people like I used to, because I realize it's one thing for them not to do it, right? But when I see that effort and energy getting put into all these other people, you know, that maybe don't hold that weight, of done the things that I've done for people, and it's like, why is it that I'm always spoken of in a high regard, but I'm never treated the way that everybody else is? And just, you know, that realization, probably the hardest one for me to make, because it's always been that way. I just didn't, like, kind of acknowledge it, I guess. And it bothered me. Like, it really bothered me to the point, like, my videos, I feel like they weren't that good that were coming out because my mind was just too occupied. I couldn't even, like, game with my friends because I'd be thinking about it. And it just, you know, I couldn't talk to people the same way. And when my mind gets like that, I kind of just, you know, I duck off, I isolate myself and try to get back on track. And thankfully I did. So I think I'm doing better these days. I've did a lot more, like, just facing the things that I already know are problems. And, you know, I'm taking it a day at a time like I always have, man. I'm good. All right, the next question is from you7788. I don't know if that's like Soldier Boy you or what, but cool name. I'm gonna paraphrase this question because it's kind of long, but basically he said, you know, your content style has changed over the years. It's a lot less aggressive and more solidly refined. What changed for you over the years? I'm guessing, you know, to what caused me to do that. And by the way, it was a positive change that I welcome. We can always use more positivity in the world. First of all, thank you. That was intentional. So, oh, excuse me. So originally, I made content that was just, it showed you who I was as a person partially, but at the same time, it kind of didn't show you like the other side of me, I guess. And I felt like the way that I was headed, I was drawing in an audience, yeah, but I wasn't drawing in the kind of audience that I would have liked. You know, I feel like my comment section should be a reflection of myself in a way, and so at the time, I had like a lot of love and support, but I felt like the comment section wasn't full of the kind of people that I would associate with. You know, that the energy they brought. I found myself like arguing with people in the comments a lot because they do something that wasn't cool in my book. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like maybe I'm sending off the wrong vibe if this is something that keeps happening. And so I altered it to a way that not necessarily family friendly, but I wanted to like clarify, like, we're here to laugh together, not at somebody or at somebody else's expense, you know. And so that's why I took the route that I did take. I tried to like take profanity out of my videos a lot more, you know, because I mean I still curse from time to time, but it's definitely not as bad as it used to be. Not that I think profanity is bad, but I don't actually curse that much in regular life. So um, those are just changes I made because I feel like it helped me expand my audience to reach more people, which is my goal ultimately. You know, it was never for me to be like famous like that or just making a bunch of money. I just wanted to reach more people and, you know, make more smiles. And so that's what like changed for me, content wise, and led to me doing the things that I do now. So thank you. The next question is from Huey Cotton. He says, do you have any plans for making more music in the future? I really enjoyed the verse you spit that went, they're going to talk about your pain, talk about your struggle. That was fire. I like that. And I think you have a hidden talent in that aspect and would love to see you pursue it further. So I do have a plan to do one more song for sure. And it was the one that You Don't Get Love Till You Gone, the one that everybody wanted. I finished writing it. I got the beat. I'm trying to make it work out because the beat isn't exactly how it was eventually, like initially, because it was like a snippet and they had to make a long version of it. So there was nothing to really like go off of everything else. But I also want to like learn more about making music so it sound better in the end result, because I feel like both of the snippets sound better than like the full version, because I don't have any like knowledge of making music. I did the snippet off of a whim. You know, I seen it and it like just came to mind and I did it. People liked it, and then because I'm a poet, I write poetry, but I never made music, and so I don't really feel like I understand like the process of making it sound good, even if the lyric quality is nice. But it's not something I'm opposed to. I just want, if I put something out, I want it to be quality. So I'm just trying to learn more about it. But definitely want to at least do that one going forward. So appreciate you. The next question I have is from Ricky Lay 88. I don't know if I said that right. If I didn't, I apologize. You've accomplished so much in your life. Is there a goal you want to reach or something else you want to do that you haven't already done? As of right now, the only goal that I have not reached that I had set for myself was to reach 1 million subs on YouTube. Everything else that I wanted to do, I completed my bucket list when I was 17, besides what I'm doing right now. So I was on TV, and I did all the crazy stuff that I wanted to do, and I had the successful track career, and I got the degrees and all of this. I thought that I was gonna die when I was 18, and so I kind of like I was stat padding pretty much. I was trying to accomplish everything that I could in like a small amount of time, and I didn't think about the idea that I might live. And so now, me being 25, my birthday being next month, I'm sitting here looking like, dang, I kind of breezed through life in a sense, and now I gotta make new things as I go. So as of right now, the only goal I have is just getting to 1 million subs, and then I'm pretty sure once I get there, I'll think of something else to accomplish, because there's always more that I can do. The next question I have is from Dorian Gray, and he says, would you be keen on doing a podcast where you invite random strangers on just to chat about life? Also, glad to see the progress you've made since the last time I commented. Good job. Thank you, brother. Podcast. I actually recently was a guest on a podcast for the first time ever. And you get to see like a side of me that you see more so when I'm gaming. So, I mean, if you want to just see that side of me, absolutely watch it. But know that it is not as censored as usual. That being said, I don't think that I could personally host a podcast because I lack social skills. I don't even know how to have a one-on-one conversation with a person, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I can talk to people that I grew up with and have a conversation, because we talk about stuff that like happened in the past that we experienced together, or like things that we got coming up. We know each other that well. Like my siblings, my cousins, my best friend, we talk. Aside from them, I can't have a conversation with just a random person, if I'm being honest with you. Like, it's really difficult. I lack the skills to do that, and I'm not saying I won't acquire them in the future, but I definitely got to work with my social skills before that becomes a thing. But I'm not opposed to the idea of a podcast once I get there. The next question I have is from Gaming Furry 3. When you say furry, you talking about like them folks that, like, you know what I'm saying, they dress up in like the animal costumes and they be doing that freak young and stuff. I ain't gonna judge you, fine. You do your thing. I appreciate you. So it's how do you come up with such good jokes, and how long does it take for you to come up with that stuff? This is not a joke. I've said this plenty of times, but I don't script anything at all. This is, when you watch my videos, this is off the cuff. This is just how my brain thinks. I have a very strange way of thinking, I believe, and that's just, that's what it counts. I'm naturally funny, so I wouldn't call myself a comedian, but at the same time, I guess that is a skill in itself. Just improv, off the cuff. I think fast, and I think it's just something that I like sharpened over the years, because I kind of got a smart mouth, and I'm quick with it. So like, people, when stuff happens, I just kind of say whatever comes to my mind. Like, initially, people usually think it's funny. If it's not, it's like, I fire off so many jokes, eventually one gonna land, and then I just got really good at doing it. So yeah, I don't really it don't take me long. Like, depending on how long the video was that I react to, I'll watch it in entirety to have all the context. But usually, I just, whatever comes to mind when I first watch the video, I record myself saying it, and then I post it, and y'all watch it and y'all like it. The longer videos, some of those actually have time put into them, because they're like structured. So like Fredo rants, I'll take like a minute and just think about topics, and then once I get the topics, I'll think of like stories that I'm going to tell, and then I just kind of bullet point them, but I don't necessarily write down everything I'm going to say. It's just kind of like a keep me on track kind of thing, So yeah, it don't take long. It's just improv. The next question I have is from Shadow TD. It says, what's your plan on YouTube? Do you plan to reach some goal you set and call it quits, or are you hoping to keep this going since people enjoy and love the content you put out? As far as I'm concerned, I don't ever see me not making YouTube content or some sort of content as long as I'm breathing, because this genuinely, gives me a sense of purpose in life. And I've said this before. I think now where I am now, I'm fine living life without this. However, it's a really big like help for me personally, because for me to exist and like exist happily, I have to feel like I have a reason to be here, you know. And as of right now, there's only two things that keep me feeling like I have a reason to be here. One is the fact that I had a lot of my friends and family members die, and because they life, you know, some of them were taken. I felt like the fact that I'm still here says that I have a purpose that I still have to fulfill. So as long as I'm breathing, there's something I need to be doing. I just got to find it. And then aside from that, it's you guys. You know, y'all are the main reason I wake up every day like excited to do what I do, because I know that I'm gonna make somebody's day a little bit easier. And life is rough, you know. I know it's I know. So just, you know, that honestly, that makes me happier than anything else, man. I say it and y'all might not believe it, but I'm telling you, there's nothing that I get more happiness from than just making people smile or giving somebody advice and leading them in a better direction, and hopefully, you know, helping you live a better life, you know. And that's really what it means to me. So if at any point in my career that topic changes, like it's no longer about reaching people and impacting lives, I probably got cloned. That's really all I want to get out of my life at this point. I just want to make the people that come across me better. I want to be better, and hopefully the world will be better because of it. All right, the next question I have, I think, is like a second part to a question, but they're not close together, so I'm just going to start with this one. It's from G Pizzle 817, and they say, also, what has been your biggest uphill battle as far as bad habits or thought patterns, and how do you handle them? That is a good question. So this is a part where you get to hear about the bad sides of me that you don't get to see. And I want to start off by saying the only reason y'all don't see them is because I actively avoid situations that I might end up doing something that I have a tendency of doing that is not good. Okay, so one of my biggest issues is that I have a bad temper. Now, it took me years of just trying to like get myself in the right mental space to not react to certain things a certain way and not act on things, because I have a unusually strong amount of intention. Like the amount of time that it takes for me to do something and a reaction to something that happened to me is very, very small, and it doesn't really have a thought process in it. And a lot of times that leads to things that are not I'm not trying to incriminate myself. I've done some stuff that's terrible. It's just not as terrible as you're gonna think. But that being said, I've never initiated anything terrible, right? So if you do something wrong to me, there's a very high chance I'm gonna do something worse to you. And the reason why I'm not gonna care is because in my heart, I truly believe that if you didn't do it, we never would have got there, therefore making me not wrong for whatever it is that I choose to do. However, I can say in my, you know, my calm mind that what I choose to do is usually out of pocket. It's not necessary. But out of anger, I'll allow myself to take it to a place that it should never have gotten to, regardless to what you did, because I'm angry. And I carry myself with a lot of anger just because like the stuff that happened in my life. I didn't grieve properly when it happened. You know, my cousin got killed, my friends got killed, you know, me almost dying, just so much stuff that happened in my life, me growing up poor and just like the struggles that I done faced, like why my life has been so hard. I never understood it, and I never like handled those emotions properly. I didn't cry. You know, I grew up in that, you know, man up culture. And so, you know, just kind of bottled all that stuff in. And then when I get into altercations and whatnot, it seep out. And I worked on myself for a long time to like control that. You know, I think the problem that I have now is that I have this mental belief that I've progressed, right? I believe that I put the work in. I've thought about it. I can say what I do is right and wrong. And then I'll get put in a situation that I get to test if I really made that progress. And then I do what I always did. And it makes me so angry, because then I feel like I failed. Like I put all of this time in, all these years for nothing. And now I'm at the point where I try to put myself in those situations more often to really test if I make the progress, because that's what it's all about. And so my anger is one. I have real bad anger problems, and I'm very impatient. The impatient part, I feel like YouTube has helped a lot with, because, you know, growing a channel, it's a patience thing. You know, you got to be patient. You don't know when you're going to blow. I can get discouraged if I watch everybody else that may have came around the same time that I did or started when I did, or maybe in the same like genre as me, and they're thriving, and then me, it seems like I get stagnant sometimes, or people aren't responding the way I think they should, or I don't have the support that I think I would have. It's easy to get discouraged or impatient, like why is my time not came yet? But eventually I got out of that mindset, man. Just started doing my things. I stopped looking at the metrics, and I've been growing a lot lately. Thank y'all. But yeah, I feel like my anger and my impatience were like my two biggest issues. And I'm working on both of those just by, being more composed. I want to have self control. When something happens, I want to be in control of myself, and know that I can make the right decision, even though like I grew up in a culture that's like, if somebody do something to you, you a bitch if you don't do something back, and you can't let nobody play you. And that mindset that I had was so toxic, because that's why a lot of people that I know ended up getting killed, or they in prison, or did something that, they got a record now because the people around you told you that you ain't a man if you don't, stand up for yourself, or if somebody do this to you, you got to do this to them. That's worse. And that make you a man. And I used to believe stuff like that because I hung out with people that was knuckleheads, but now I know better, and I don't do that no more. So um, definitely, just you got to hold yourself accountable, man, and then surround yourself with people that hold you accountable. Just like I tell y'all now, if I do something wrong and it's genuinely wrong, I want y'all to tell me that I did something wrong, and then expect better out of me and know that I'm going to work on it, instead of just writing me off like a lot of people do with their content creators, man. I am like pushing the idea of growth. That's what I am. I've grown mentally, I've grown physically, I've grown spiritually, I've grown in every aspect that you can, and that's what I want to push. And I want to be authentic with it. Yes, I'm flawed, but I'm working on myself. The next question I have is from Rich Lee, or Eric H. Lee. I don't really know. I hope I said it right. But he says, Fredo, how have you dealt with depression if you've ever had it? So initially, I handled it the wrong way. I had took myself down a really, really dark path. I became very aggressive and hostile. I isolated myself from everybody. I used to walk around with headphones on every single day, all day. I'm talking like when I was in college, I would literally go to class with headphones on. I'd be in class with the headphones on. I walk to class with it on. I was eating lunch with it on. I'm at track practice wearing headphones. Like, it's just everything I did. I get in the shower with headphones on sometimes. Like, I'm not joking. I was living life to the tune of music, because that was the only thing that kind of kept me, confined and in the right mindset, or distracted from whatever I had going on in my head, because I was thinking some very, very dark stuff. And because of that, I developed like this crutch for music where I couldn't operate without music. And I didn't realize how big of an issue that was until later on in life, because I had desensitized myself to where when something happened to me, I didn't allow myself to grieve. I didn't cry. I didn't talk to anybody. Granted, I didn't ever really talk to anybody before, because I never really had like a circle. You know what I'm saying? I was, alone. So I put that pain and stuff into art. And that is where I found my answer to like my problem. So I take my depression, my sadness, my pains, I put it into art, I put it into sports, put it into content, put it into school. I just find positive outlets for that, that energy that I had. And a lot of times it'd be anger. So, I started doing like martial arts, boxing and whatnot, even if it's just, whether you go to class and do it, or, get you a punching bag and just, let it out on that, something that's not going to harm anybody else. That's what I suggest anybody to do. Use that pain to fuel you into something positive. And a lot of times in those things, you'll find a solution to whatever it is that you're dealing with. But if it is something that's specific, like if there's something specifically that you have a problem with, and you want my advice on it, just let me know and I'll tell you. The next question I got is from IJN2477. And he says, one challenge you overcame that made you feel like a gladiator. This right here, bro, everything that I've done in my life made me feel like a gladiator. Y'all got to understand, I was born in 28 weeks. I was premature, almost died as a baby. Hear that again, almost died as a baby. Life started off difficult. Like, you finna sweat, you finna try hard, or you gonna lose, right? Life been beating my ass ever since. And I'm talking about from every downfall that I've had, every problem that I've faced, no matter what it was, I always came out on top, because I'm still here. Look at me. I mean, everything they said I couldn't do, I've accomplished it. Everything that I thought that I might not be able to accomplish, I've accomplished. And now my mindset has changed because of it. And now I have made myself into a person that can't be stopped, and as long as I'm breathing. So yeah, I feel like a gladiator just because I'm from Mississippi and I was poor, and I had all these things that I had that was supposed to tell me that I wasn't supposed to be anything or accomplish anything, and I still did it because my mind didn't allow me to be boxed in, and I ain't never gonna be. The next question I got is from Cherie6091. I hope I said that right. And she says, when you're not making others laugh, what steps do you take towards self-love? I'm not going to lie to y'all today. I'm not going to do that. Self-love is a difficult topic for me because if I'm being a buck, $1,000 wow, it might be hard to believe. Don't love myself too much. Not gonna lie, I really don't. I'm working on it though. I've made a lot of progress. If you asked me this last year, I wouldn't have said I love myself at all. I just genuinely didn't. I thought that my presence was nice. You know, I feel like I've done great things in my life. Don't really care for myself too much as a person. Maybe that's because I know me better than anybody else. Maybe it's just because I'm a hard critic. I don't know. But I've came to terms with who I am as a person, and I kind of like myself. I'm a pretty cool dude. I definitely can be better. I'm always striving to be better. Probably not as bad as I think that I am, but I don't. As far as like steps to improving that, I ain't really taking any. Yeah, I just I don't know. I don't bash myself anymore, so I feel like that's a step, I guess. But aside from that, I don't like actively do anything to make me love myself more. I just kind of improve. I just always trying to improve. I guess that's the step I take. I'm trying to be a better man and one I can be proud of. The next question I got is from Nebulous5581. It says, when you was poor, did you know you were poor, or was it in the norm in your neighborhood? I absolutely knew I was poor. If I didn't know I was poor, somebody reminded me of it. People used to make fun of me all the time when I was poor, man. They talk about the clothes that I had. They talk about how my house looked. They talk about how I ain't have this and that. My shoes had holes in it. My pants had holes in it. I was super skinny, and it's just, bruh, people were terrible. I say that, but y'all really don't know. People treated me terribly almost my entire life. I just never made a big deal out of it. But I don't forget nothing though. I can tell you that. I don't hold no grudge, but I don't forget what nobody did to me. A lot of people love me now, but I remember what you did, and it's alright though. I hope you did better. But yeah, I knew I was poor for sure. And it was not normal because I grew up in the woods, and the only neighbor I really had was my grandma. And then like people, the next neighbor was like down the street some ways. Like we didn't live by each other, but in the vicinity. So yeah, I knew I was poor, man. And on top of that, my older brother, which yeah, I love him, but my older brother, he has a different dad than me. His dad died when he was a kid, and my dad raised him. And his dad's side of the family is rather rich. They had a lot of money, and so from time to time he would go to his grandmother's house, and he'd get spoiled because she had a bunch of money, and he'd come back to our house, the rest of us, and he just brag about all the stuff that he had and call us broke and da 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 da. And y'all ain't. My brother is. I love him. Y'all don't hear too much about my older brother. I can tell you this: he always had my back when it came to fighting. He would squad with me to this day. But him, a lot of character growth. I mean, he ain't as the person he once was, but he still got a lot to grow, and I still love him. I hope he get right. But he definitely caused a lot of my issues growing up. And hey, in a way, it still made me tough, so I ain't mad. Next question I got is from G Pizzle. I guess it's the first part of your question that you had. Do you feel like your accolades that you've achieved were worth it, or do you feel like you could have done something else with your time and talents earlier on? I'm not sure. I can tell you this. I've spent a large portion of my life chasing accolades, and that was largely because I never had like this sense of self-worth. And so my worth has always been tied to the things that I've accomplished. I've never really received love like most people. I've never felt love like most people. And so when I do remember the times where I felt loved, or I felt important, or I felt seen, it was when I was in the limelight. And so because of that, I've always thrived. I've strived to be great at everything that I've done. So, I got praised for being a great artist, being a great athlete, being a content creator now because I got a bunch of followers. People love that. It's just those moments I was getting those certificates when I saved a little girl's life when I was in the newspaper. I did jump rope for hearts. I coached the Special Olympics. I didn't do that, to make myself feel like it was worth something. I always had to accomplish something though, because that resume looks long and it's nice, and people like, oh, okay, he's worth something because he's done all of this. But truth be told, when I think it was in 2019 when I ran my last track meet at Nationals, I got back to my hotel room and I sat there for a second. I got these medals, I got my All-American joints, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, all of this is finna stop and my life is finna go in another direction. And I look back on all the things that I've accomplished up until now, and I'm realizing I got this whole wall full of like certificates and trophies and these degrees and whatnot, and none of that stuff mattered to me anymore. It really didn't. I wanted those medals, uh, one, to say that I accomplished something, but more so so other people saw that I accomplished something. You know what I mean? It was more so like to prove people wrong, not because my heart genuinely just wanted that bad. And so now, like all of those things that I have, you don't see any of it in here because it's not here. It's back in Mississippi, so my family can see it. But like I don't really care about any of it now. Not saying that I wish I would have done something else. It's just I wish I would have put more effort into things that I genuinely wanted for myself, as opposed to just trying to make. I guess I was trying to make me believe that I was worth something, not necessarily everybody else. And that's what I realized, and that's when I became a YouTuber. So if anything I changed, I would have committed to doing YouTube at an earlier age, as opposed to waiting until I did 2 years ago. All right, this next question is from 15 D'Angelo, and it says, "Yo, Fredo, what's the best part about growing up in the South that you feel like no one else really understands?" Um, Being in the South is an experience because I feel like people that aren't from the South have this negative image of what it's like. You know, people tend to think that it's a bunch of racist people, especially like Mississippi. They think it's a bunch of, Ku Klux Klan members just running rampant and all the black people just killing each other. It's not how people paint that picture, bro. I've met more nice people there than vice versa. Granted, I grew up in a racist town, so I'm not saying it don't exist, but you know, country for me is like when I go back home, me and my dad driving down the street, we see an old man cutting his grass, we pull over and go cut his grass for him because in the South, we big on hospitality and respect, and caring for the elders and whatnot. So that's something normal that we do, going and washing off the elderly people's houses and stuff and helping them with tasks that they might not be able to do at their age, holding the door for people. Seeing if a tree falls down in the road, we don't wait for somebody to, like some company to come and get it. Some redneck gonna pull back up with a chainsaw and cut it up himself and clear the street so everybody can get through, helping people out when they in need. Hunting and fishing and riding four-wheelers and shooting guns, not at people, but just for recreational purposes to make sure y'all aim right, just in case you do have to hem at somebody, you know what I'm saying? So, just country life, I feel like it's a lot different than the life that I'm living now. I live in the suburbs, and it's odd, but I'm adjusting to it. But definitely, I prefer just that country lifestyle, man. Living in the South, where everybody used to meet up at your grandma's house and y'all eat soul food and tell stories and hang out without the video games and stuff. We used to go outside, what I'm saying, and hang out and have bonfires and actually interact with each other and stuff. That's country to me. That's what I think of when I think of the South. The food and the culture, the music, and the understanding of each other. We can be from two different places in the South, but we still understand the way that we talk, even though we all talk kind of different. Some people talk real different, like the people down in New Orleans. You know what I mean? That accent hit a little different, but the people on swamp life or whatever's like that, go on, get them both. South. This next question is from Esquero Cody. I don't even know if I said that right. I don't know why I said that with an accent, but his question was, what's your favorite accomplishment so far? My favorite accomplishment so far is starting YouTube. Not where I've got on YouTube, just starting, because I literally, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a YouTuber. And I had so many people tell me that it was crazy that I actually prolonged myself from doing it. But not from like making content. I made content on every platform but YouTube, solely because if I flopped anywhere else, it never sounded like a failure, because the only place that you were like known to make it at the time, like where you could make a living making content, was YouTube. So I'd go to Instagram and Musically at the time. I forgot the name of the other app that was out, like Dubverse or something. I forgot what it was called, but I did all of those, and then I finally started doing YouTube. So that's my biggest accomplishment, because I chased my dream. This next question is from NBA Prophet. Have you ever had people walk out of your life for no good reason that you really cared about? If so, how do you deal with moving on? I have had almost everybody that I really cared about that didn't die walk out of my life for no good reason. And I got accustomed to it, believe it or not. I have abandonment issues, so I don't tend to get attached to people anymore. Like, I don't allow people to get close to me. Some people will be like, Fredo, let's be friends. And I say it very sternly, nah, that's not because you're not a good person. I genuinely just don't. In my mind, the less people that I care about, the less I can get hurt. That's just the blunt way to put it. I've had a lot of people die. I've had a lot of people walk out on me. The smaller the group is, the less likely that is to happen. But how did I deal with it? I think it was just accepting it that I couldn't do anything about it. You know, I can't tell somebody to value me or anything like that. So, you know, if you chose to walk out, that's your ill. Because what I realized was when I got to this point that I'm at in my life now, or even before this, you know, when I was just making the newspapers as an athlete and whatnot, a lot of those people that walked out on me tried to come back. And what's the most common for me is people that they walk out on me and then their life will go into shambles. And I have always been that person that saved them. You know, I was that safety net for a lot of people. And every time that would happen, they come back to me and I'd save them over and over and over and over because that was who I am as a person. You know, recently I decided I'm not doing that no more. So, hey, I wish you the best of luck and keep doing your thing. I don't hold no grudge against anybody that walked out, but I make sure that I don't do that to anybody else. And it's just, hey, you know, don't ever think that because somebody walked out on you that you ain't worth nothing. That don't mean, you know, it's not a reflection of you. That's a reflection of them. And so, you know, just hold on to that sense of self-worth and, you know, keep pushing forward, man. Better people gonna come into your life, believe it or not. The next question is from Isaiah Cameron 7897. What's good, bro? It says, if you had a kid, what would be the most important value you would try to pass on to them and why? I would push character because I believe having good character is the most important thing about a person. And that like encompasses so many things, right? And that's something you can't replicate. You know, it's a rare thing nowadays, it seems, to come across somebody that's just genuinely good or somebody that may not have been good originally but has that like desire to be good, and so they're always trying to improve. That is hard to come across, and so that's the main thing I try to push on my channel, and that's definitely what I try to push to my kid, because the world needs more people of character. I felt like when we got rid of that standard of people having, you know, morals and respect and all of that, that's when we kind of went in the wrong direction as a society. You know, the world looks the way it looks now because character is not popular anymore. You know, people care more about clout. I want to go back to the days where being a good person was the thing to do, and like, you know, back when you could make mistakes and people expected you to better yourself, not just write you off and then try to keep you stuck in that, oh, well, you used to do this, so that's always what you're going to be. No, that's not how it works. The next question I got is from Cashapp Central, and it says, how do you cope with your dreams being put on hold to handle responsibilities? Me personally, the only responsibility that I had to chasing my dreams was a responsibility to take care of myself and keep myself alive. Because I don't have any kids. When I initially started my career, I didn't have a partner. So it was just the only person dependent on me to be successful was me. And I guess, like, you know, my people kind of, because, you know, I can help them out now that I'm, you know, doing better in life. But they weren't relying on me, is my point. Like, nobody was counting on me as far as like financially to be successful. So I didn't have to put my career on hold necessarily. I just was choosing to put it on hold because I was questioning myself. But to a person that does have to put their career on hold because you have people that are, like, you know, counting on you, I would say to not lose track of why it is that you want to do whatever it is that you want to do. You know, because if you do allow yourself to do that and you get too caught up in like the financial side, you might settle for something that's not as fulfilling if it pays you the right amount. You know, if you get rid of that burden of like, okay, financially, I'll never have to worry about this again. And as a parent or as a guardian or whatever, a partner, that's good because you know they're going to be all right. But at the same time, if you're not okay and something happens to you, you can't take care of them anymore. So you have to make sure your quality of life is high, as well as still trying to make sure that their life is going to be okay. So, you know, just have some faith in yourself, man, and don't ever forget why you started and why you're going to do what it is that you want to do. The next question is from BB's Voice. That's who she is to y'all. To me, it's Leah, one of my favorite people. She's so cool. Would you rather roaches or ants? You can't say neither. You have to pick one. I'm picking ants. Now, y'all got to understand, I told y'all, I grew up in the woods. There is not an insect or animal that lives in those woods that I have not encountered inside of my house at some point in time, because my house was not greatly built. Okay, there were snakes in there at times, lizards, salamanders, spiders, you name it. It's done been in my house. Frogs. It was holes in my floor, holes in the ceiling. It was plenty of weight. It was a tree in my roof at one point in time. I'm telling you, I'm not afraid of insects and stuff like that because I couldn't be. It was like not logical. That being said, an ant is so much less of a problem to me than a roach. Getting rid of a roach is very difficult. Getting rid of an ant, I'm a master at it because I used to torment ants. I'm not gonna lie, I was an ant bully. I'm reformed now. I respect them, but they did tear me up a couple times, and I didn't let it slide. I worked on myself. What can I say? But definitely choosing ants over roaches, and I feel like ants solve more problems than they cause. So the next question is from the nameless one, 9801. Easiest way to get big because you were a personal trainer, please. If you want to get big, there is only one way to do it, okay? You have to eat more. I don't know how to explain this to you in another way. You have to eat more. Whatever you're eating right now, double it. And then if you really want to get results, if you want to look good, you have to exercise, weight train, right? Not necessarily like, don't spam cardio if you're trying to gain weight, because cardio is going to burn a lot of fat. So go do some weight training and then count your calories and then add more calories than you're burning and more than you normally eat. So like, let's say if you eat 1,500 calories a day, right? And you exercise and you burn 300. You need to eat more calories than you're burning, so you need to add at least 300 for sure, because you're going to burn that, right? And then I would say if you eat 1,500 normally, a good start will be 2,500. It's 1,000 more calories. I don't know what meal that would be in. Preferably protein if you want to, look nice. You can be cheap and do dirty bulking and just eat whatever that got a lot of calories in it, but you're gonna look different body wise. But as far as results go, that's the key. You just have to eat more, man. I mean, you might think to yourself, I'm eating enough. You're not. If you're not getting bigger, you're not eating enough. And I have a problem where it's hard for me to gain weight. So I accomplished it, and it was difficult. I was miserable, but it's possible. I'm telling you, eat more. You got it. This next question is from Spencer Pearson, 1321. Where do you think the real divide between people is? Rich and poor, racial, Chick-fil-A versus Popeyes, sweet versus non-sweet tea? It'll be interesting to see what you say. I believe the real divide between people is caused by misunderstanding. I think people don't understand each other, and that is where problems come from, regardless to if you're rich or poor, or what your race is, or what it is you believe. People aren't capable, or they don't put the effort into trying to understand what life is like for the next man. And because a lot of people tend to not believe things if they don't experience them, that's where the divide comes in. So like me as a black man, right, it would be easy for me to tell you that it's a racial thing, because I've experienced racism, right? But if you have never seen the things that have happened to me, I can tell you the stories all day. You'll say, that didn't happen. You've never seen it happen. It sounds absurd for that to happen, but it did. And there's a whole group of people that can confirm this stuff happening, but you're not going to care until it affects you. And that's usually how it works, just like rich and poor. It's the same thing. If the poor man tells you of an issue that he has, the rich man ain't never had to deal with these things. It's hard for them to believe that in the world, that they live in, this thing is taking place. And therefore, since they don't have to see it or deal with it, they usually don't tend to care. And so what I've noticed is, if you want somebody to understand you, you have to make them feel you. And that is why I personally never understood that saying that an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. I believe an eye for an eye makes us understand each other. If you're willing to look past what's happening to me, then I should be willing to look past what's happening to you. Not because it's the right thing to do, because you're going to understand where I'm coming from. We can suffer together, and we can help each other out. That is what I believe. Now, it might not be the right way to go about things, but that is what I believe. Is it going to change? Probably not. But I always push understanding. So I can take a group of people that don't see eye to eye and explain it to them in a way that most people can't, because I've seen both sides of the fence. I've been poor. Now I have money. I'm black. I'm still black, but I've been black in that racist area, and I've been black in that area with people that embrace me. They're both of a different, racial group. So yeah, there's people that hate you of this race, but there's people that love you, right? I've seen both sides, so I can help you understand what life is like for me. And then I've talked to those people that are from a different race, that have had experiences that I don't know personally, but I've listened to their stories, and I can tell you what life was like for them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a good person to bring a group together, but at the same time, it's all about understanding, man. The next question I have is from Devin7803, and it says, who made you the man you are today? I did. Yeah, it was me. I put the work in. Now, I can say my mindset was shaped by a few things and a few people. As far as like my mentality goes, of I can do whatever it is that I want to do, that I set my mind to, that came from my dad. My dad always pushed that when I was growing up. That can't is not a word. It's a curse word, if anything. And can't is not something. It's not anything that you can't do. You just might not be able to do it now. Put some time in. That came from him. As far as like my drive, like where my drive comes from, that came from the experiences that I've had, especially like losing people that I care about, dying. That's where my drive comes from. My desire to be better, that was something that I just naturally had, but also kind of affected by my dad because as y'all know, my dad went to prison and he changed his life around, and now he got his record cleared and he's seen as the man he is today and not who he once was. Seeing that, what he went through, that kind of inspired me to like always push to be better, right? Um, my nephew, my first nephew, I had never cared to have a kid in my life, but I ended up having the opportunity to help raise that little kid for like a year or two, and me and him got really really tight, and he changed. Like I was a very cold person around the time he was born. He changed my life, man. He really I'd say he saved my life. My nephew saved my life, man, and I love him to death. He's a knucklehead, but changed my life. So those like the main things. But other than that, it's just me, man. I always want to be myself, and I always want to be better. And I mean, I don't need much more motivation than that. This next question is from Awesome B 3002. Fredo's advice on roasting people. How do you get the creative juices flowing? The skill of roasting people is an art form, okay? I have been working on this quite literally my whole life. In the South, roasting people is not something that you have an option to choose to do, okay? You have to know how to flame when you grow up in the environment that I grew up in, because people flame you all the time. And I mean everybody. Your mom will flame you, your grandma will flame you, your dad will flame you, your friends will flame you, your family will flame you, your pastor will flame you. If you pray and you listen close enough, Jesus might flame you. You know what I'm saying? So you just develop that skill to be able to like fend for yourself. And it's not necessarily done to hurt people, but it's to like thicken your skin up, because they always tell you that the world is ugly and you might not believe it when you're a child, but when you get older you come to realize that they weren't lying to you, okay? Life do be life. And so when you go into that job and you get disrespected, or a boss or a coworker says something that would normally hurt a regular person's feelings, it just kind of roll off the shoulder blade of somebody that grew up like me. I don't get offended by words anymore because I've gotten used to hearing things that were like at the time offensive from people that I really value. So then when it comes from somebody that don't mean nothing to me, who cares? And then I'm just gonna beat you because I'm better at it, right? And when it comes to roasting, I got two things that I usually do. One, I gotta decide on if I'm actually trying to hurt your feelings or if we having fun. Now, if I'm trying to hurt your feelings, I'm not gonna lie, the jokes are way better because there's truth in the jokes, right? And when I say it, yes, to be funny, but at the same time, you have to accept that what I said is true. And secondly, I like to say things that people just haven't heard before. It sounds absurd, but because of that, it's funny. You've never heard nobody say that somebody built like a premature bullfrog. Somebody say that you built like a parking meter. You know what I'm saying? There's stuff like that. You just say random things. You look at an object and then you're like, you know what? That kind of looks like that body part that they got. And then you say it and it's funny. Ha ha ha. And as long as nobody's getting offended, y'all keep it going. But, of course, nowadays you don't try to hurt anybody's feelings when you're roasting. It's just a good plan. It kind of helps you build up like some self-confidence. Like I make jokes about how big my nose is all the time. I never said that I was ugly, but I do have a big nose. I'm aware of that. I can smell all the oxygen in this room right now. If anybody came up here, they'd be lightheaded. You know what I mean? And so it's just that, except I got a big nose. It's a nice big nose, but it is what it is. The next question I got is from Bill Doe Tree 4322. What do you do with all the money you get from the internet? Believe it or not, okay, it might be hard to believe, but nothing. I just save it, and then when it's needed, I give it away and I pay my bills. That is it. I buy food, I pay any bills that I have. That's it. I tell y'all I don't care about the money, and I feel like a lot of content creators probably say that, but like I said, I grew up poor. I don't really have a value for money, to be honest with y'all. There's not much that I want in life. I wanted a car. I'm getting one. And I want a four-wheeler. Aside from that, I have everything else that I need. I don't really care about the rest of it. So, when I see somebody in need, I help. If I have a family or friend that's in need, I help. If I see a follower in need and I'm capable of helping at the time, I help. But aside from that, I just currently I'm actually just trying to find more ways to help people. I'm being real, and I want to help people in a way that's not normal on social media. I don't want to go around and use homeless people and exploit them to get a bunch of views, and you know what I'm saying. I don't want to do that. I want to find a way to help people that's actually going to help them in the long run, not just that temporarily you're going to eat today, which is not saying that's a bad thing, that's still good. But maybe somebody like has a dream that they chasing and they just need a little help getting it started, and then they go and be successful, something like that. But like, as far as that goes, as long as my bills paid and I ain't got to worry about nothing, the money just is there. And I'll probably learn about investing at some point, and maybe get like a high interest saving account or something. I don't know, but I've never had the money to even have to think about this stuff. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just want to help people. The next question is from Gonzo Beats 666. Is there a sense of dissociation that comes with being in the public eye or being on a large platform? For me personally, it's not, because I've always been that. Before I made content, I was an athlete, right? So being in front of large crowds and whatnot was kind of normal. I'd be on TV on occasion, and then after that, I became a professional dancer, performing on stages, TV on occasion. Bigger athlete, ESPN, right? And then just I've always been kind of like in the eye of people, like even when I was in high school, not necessarily like the public eye, but attention was always on me everywhere I went, and so I was kind of just used to doing that. And now the internet just allowed me to do it on a larger scale, and so I think the only thing that I kind of do separate myself from is the fact that people that are on the internet are on the internet. I have to remind myself of that. And so, when somebody got that audacity that I feel like they wouldn't have in real life when they speak to me, which isn't an often occurrence these days, but I got to remind myself that I can't teleport, even though I wish I could. So I don't let things like really just bother me too much. But at the same time, I also have to keep my personal life, as far as like my friends and family go, off the internet, because like, while I don't personally care about the things that y'all say to me and what y'all say y'all gonna do and all that, that don't mean nothing. I'm not gonna let that slide if it's one of them. So you don't see my family too often on my content or my page, because I don't want nobody bothering them. You know what I'm saying? They just, normal people. They trying to live their life. I don't need y'all in their DM talking reckless because I joke out of a maid, or somebody done pulled up and bothered them. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna do you dirty if I ever, you know what I'm saying? So I don't even want that to be a thing, bro. And so I don't feel like I draw that kind of energy towards me. But the world weird now, so I just try to keep all of them away from like me as far as like social media goes. But aside from that, nah, I see everybody that treat me with respect like family. You know what I'm saying? Y'all my people, bro. I look out for y'all. I hope y'all look out for me. And the last question is from Guinea Pig Talks, and it says, any advice on changing your life when you feel hopeless? If there was only one point in my lifetime where I ever felt hopeless, and I always tell people I've never been suicidal, because I've never like made a plan to do it, but I thought about it really heavily at one time, and that was at the first all-time low that I had. And for me, what changed for me was just accepting things for what they were, and then deciding that no matter what it was that was going to happen to me moving forward, I was going to find a way through it, because I had stuff that I wanted to accomplish, and I wasn't going to settle for anything less than what it was that I wanted to accomplish. And I found peace in the fact that I knew that I was going to die eventually anyways, and I'm not going to speed that process up. So if you're feeling hopeless, honestly, you just got to realize, like, man, nobody has like a guide to life. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. We don't know how much time we got. Your life could literally change tomorrow, and the only way you'll ever find out if that's going to happen is if you make it to the next day. And so if you're blessed enough to wake up, try to make something of that day. Try to find those small things to be grateful for, because I mean, when your life dark, it's plenty of stuff for you to be sad about, and it's easy for you to get yourself bitter and worked up. But it's like, man, somebody always got it worse. So a lot of times, like when I was at the bottom, I used to volunteer a lot. People just, if there's a circumstance that I might not be in at the very bottom, I'm gonna go be around somebody that's at the very bottom, so I can keep myself intact. Like, yeah, I might be hungry, but I'm gonna eat at least once or twice today. twice is great. I'm gonna eat something. That person not gonna eat it all, maybe for the next 2-3 days. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's getting around somebody that got it worse than you, and helping them. It really kind of puts you back in perspective, man. It helps you push forward. And whatever it is that you're going through, I hope stuff work out for you. If there's any advice I can give you personally, like specifics, you just let me know, and if I can contact you, I absolutely talk to you and help you out the best way I can. I feel like this video probably was not funny at all. There wasn't really any jokes in it. But it's a Q&A video. It might not ever be anything funny in it, but it's real, and that's what I'm about. I want y'all to see me at the core. That's why I tell y'all the stories, straight through. I'm not gonna really sugarcoat. I want y'all to know the exact emotions that I had, throughout certain things. So hopefully I can help you navigate it. And maybe the next Q&A will be a little more funny. But if you haven't seen the previous Q&A, some of the questions that y'all had, I already answered in the previous one. So just check those out. The anime questions, I've already answered a lot of stuff about track and all that. It's on my YouTube. So just check the longer stuff out. You can probably find it. It's in the Ash Fredo section, so you ain't got to go on a scavenger hunt. It's there. But man, thank y'all for watching the video. Y'all take care of yourselves. Y'all be safe. I'll catch y'all next time.
Don't talk like one of them. You're not. Even if you'd like to be. To them, you're just a freak. Like me.